Okay. Written reports have different purposes in the academic and professional worlds. In school, your teachers may use your reports as a gauge of your learning. So in professional field or in academe, have different purposes. Like for example, in if you are undergrad students, if your teacher requires you to make research papers, thesis, you're going to follow a specific format that the department is prescribed to you to follow. So different din sa professional field. Like for example, sa teachers or professional researchers, they're just following the IMRAD format. Although students can also use IMRAD format, but when you are going to uh, submit a thesis, for example, before you can graduate or get a degree in college, there's a thesis or in business courses, feasibility studies yung sa kanila. But commonly, it's thesis, yung other majors or other courses. Sa thesis, iba yung format rin na ginagamit nila. So you will experience that when you, sa practical research to ninyo, sa quantitative research, if your teacher will require you to make a research na pang thesis format. Currently, sa grade 12, I am the one who's handling the subject sa PR2. I'm requiring them to conduct a research and then they should follow yung thesis format. Pero sa inyo, IMRAD lang sa APP at saka sa later on sa practical research one yung qualitative study. Writing style for reports. Regardless of type, your report should be written in a language that is concise, clear, objective, and non-discriminatory. So you should be mindful of these aspects when it comes to writing reports. Kasi writing reports such as research papers, surveys, formal type of written composition siya. So you need to be mindful of the language, linguistic cues, and other aspects when it comes to writing reports. Okay, let's start with concise writing. Concise writing means efficient writing. Your text should state an idea with the least number of words without affecting meaning. This means editing your report in order to cut unnecessary words and shorten expressions. In concise writing, you need to be as short as possible. You just need to include the necessary words when it comes to writing a report. But it includes the necessary details that your readers should know in concise writing. I don't know if you're familiar with the word verbose, which means very wordy. You need to avoid being verbose or writing so many words. You need to polish your sentences. You need to cut in order to be concise. You need to be as short as possible. But you need to make sure that the sentences are complete. Okay, for example, all the participants in the study were male who were 30 years old. They were all residents of Barangay 003, Ermita, Manila. They were interviewed. So this specific example, it's very wordy. There are words that are unnecessary anymore. So in order for it to be concise, you need to polish or edit this example. So from this sentence, we need to transform. So ganito na siya. The interviewees were 30-year-old male residents of Barangay 003, Ermita, Manila. So you compare the two examples. Dito sa isa, sa first one, mahaba siya. It's a lengthy sentences. But dito naman, from how many sentences? From 3 sentences, naging isang sentence na lang siya. So, it's very important that you need to be short as possible. Next one is concise. Sorry. This is clear writing. Let me edit sa A. Okay, next is clear writing. Okay. Clear writing means writing that transmits to the reader the exact idea that you have in mind. Ideas are clear if they are expressed in concrete terms. Concrete means something that can be perceived. Its opposite is abstract, something that cannot be perceived. When say clear writing, it means you're going to express directly and exactly the words that you want to convey or you want to indicate in your report. Okay, for example, many of the participants reported being very satisfied with the Barangay Health Unit service. So this is specific example, although this is one sentence lang siya, but it is ambiguous because of the term very satisfied. Remember, we need to be objective when it comes to writing research paper or reports. So dapat exact and specific. So from this sentence, you need to transform this. Halimbawa, 55% or 55 out of 100 of the participants reported being very satisfied with the Barangay Health Unit's mental health service. So you need to indicate what's the number. You need to quantify. You need to give a specific statistics doon sa report mo. So how many participants na very satisfied sila? So you need to be specific. So you need to include the numbers. And you need to be specific also which services being offered by the Barangay Health Unit. So dito sa example, mental health service, yung ibig sabihin ng Barangay Health Unit service. So you need to be very specific about the details or information that you're going to present. That's what means being clear. Okay, next on objective writing. Objective writing means writing that is free of emotionally loaded or biased words so that the report appears neutral and actual. In objective writing, you need to set aside your biases. You need to focus on the data that you gathered for your report. Your personal biases, what are your emotional biases doon sa research mo, you need to set them aside. You need to be objective. You need to focus on the information and data that you gathered for your report or for your research. Okay, for example, unfortunately, a huge majority of the respondents were very satisfied with the Barangay Health Unit's maternal health service. So, one of the indicators why this specific example is biased siya kasi you use the word unfortunately. Meaning, you have your own judgment towards the result of the study. So you need to make sure that you're going to disregard your personal judgment. You need to be objective kung ano yung nakikita mo sa data. So, halimbawa, from this, you need to transform it to become an objective form of writing. 70% of the respondents were very dissatisfied with the barangay health unit's mental health survey. So you still need to indicate the number, the quantity, or the statistics. Being objective also includes removing any hint of personal judgment in your writing. Consider, for example, the sentence below. The residents of Barangay X hoarded basic goods just before the super typhoon struck. So, in this specific example, you are being biased with how you construct, how you organize or use words in your sentence. So the word hoard has a negative connotation, and its use in the sentence may suggest that the writer disapproves of what the residents did. Okay, the residents of Barangay X bought more than the usual quantity of basic goods before the super typhoon struck. So instead of using the word hoard, you may paraphrase or rephrase your sentence into more sensitive form of organization or structure of the sentence. Okay, non-discriminatory writing. Non-discriminatory writing refers to the writing that treats all people equally and with respect. So in a non-discriminatory writing, you need to be sensitive, you need to be concerned of the emotional implications of the words that you're going to use when you write your paper. So there are different factors when it comes to considering this aspect. First is the gender. Your language should reflect equal treatment of people of different genders. So meaning you need to be gender sensitive. You need to avoid gender bias in your uh, written composition. Avoid using words like man, mankind, or he to refer to people in general, as people includes various genders. So, for example, if your respondents are combinations or mixtures of different gender, so you need to avoid using man or any specific term that express a specific gender lang siya. Rather, use gender-neutral terms like people or humanity. In addition, do not assume that the default gender is masculine. So it's very important that you need to use gender-neutral terms when you refer to diverse group of people. Example, a student must have his parents sign the waiver. So student, there's no specific gender being expressed in the sentence. The word is neutral. Thus, you need to avoid gender bias term. Like for example, using only the pronoun his to refer to student, when in fact, student may mean both male and female. Ganun siya. So instead of using the sentence, you may use students must have their parents sign the waiver, or parents must sign the students or child's waiver. So must ano siya, neutral siya. Okay, moreover, be careful with the use of the affixes like man, woman, or S or ESS as in barangay chairman, presidential spokeswoman, and directress. So we suggest that you use gender neutral equivalents instead, such as chair or chairperson, spokesperson, or director. So these are the terms that you may use in order to be sensitive with the gender of your respondents or the people you are referring to. Next one is age. Reports must state precisely the age of any human participants in a study. For example, use respondents aged 60 age 60 to 65 instead of elderly people. So age are specific terms that you may use depending on the age bracket of your respondents. Okay, for example, you may use boys or girls for people less than 18 years old. And you may use men or women for people 18 and above. So that's according to the American Psychological Association. That's the commonly used citation and referencing style. Okay, another is disability. Never refer to people through their diseases or disabilities, as in autistics. Use instead person or persons or people with blank, as in a person with special needs. So before, okay lang yan, yung you're going to use autistics. It's, what do you call that? It's acceptable, although it's kind of offensive, but generally or commonly, people accept the term. But now, because we're more sensitive, we're going to be politically correct with our language, we need to use sensitive terms. Like for example, if you're going to refer a person with disability, kailangan siya may a person with special needs. Depending kung ano yung needs niya. Di ka pwedeng gawin na autistic or or special child. Yung say special child, and dapat itawag sa isa person with special needs. Ganun dapat siya. Then parts of a report. Report parts may vary depending on the type of the teacher's requirements. So as what I've mentioned earlier, it depends upon the format that the department is being prescribed to the students. So, however, it can be said that most reports contain the following sections, even though the format may depend, but there's specific or particular parts that are going to suffice or fill in. We have what we call prefatory elements, such as the title page and abstract or executive summary. So prefatory elements are report sections found before the actual report. So before you read the whole content, going to be introduced first the title of the research or the report, and it also includes the researchers or the authors of the report, and the abstract or the summary of the whole content of the paper. And we also have the report proper. It is the actual report, which usually has the following elements. Wait lang. Edit ko muna ha. Okay, we have introduction, procedures, results and discussion, conclusion, appendix, and references. We say introduction, it presents the background of the study. It contextualizes your whole investigation. You're going to include the problem in your paper that you want to answer, the niche, uh, the one that I've discussed the week before yung tawag ito, semestral break natin. Then you also have procedures. Procedures, this is the process that you're going to adhere when it comes to conducting your research. It depends upon the kind of investigation that you're going to conduct. So, depende sa research design, sa research respondents, the setting or the locale. And we also have results and discussion. This is the section wherein you're going to present the result when you analyze your data. And then this is also the part where you're going to explain the results of your data, of your analysis, and the implications. Then naman conclusion, what's the whole essence of your whole of your paper, of your conduct? You're going to answer, you need to go back to your statement of the problem. You need to answer your statement of the problem, and you also need to provide suggestions or recommendations that you can generate based on the results of the study. Ito naman sa appendix or appendices, this is the section wherein you're going to include yung mga ethical procedures na kinakin nyo, like writing letters to authorities or personnel that you need to ask permission with when you conduct your research. This is also the part wherein you need to include your research instrument. To references, the section wherein you're going to include the sources of your research, especially the ones that that you use for your analysis, like theoretical framework, yung sa read literature ninyo. And let's proceed to writing a data commentary. Data commentary. Okay, lesson objectives. At the end of the lessons, the students will be able to identify the parts of a data commentary, explain how data interpretation is done, and employ appropriate hedging expressions in making claims. Structure of a data commentary. So this is the section wherein you're going to write how to write your tables and graphs, the data that you're going to present in the results and discussion. The presentation and analysis, that's analysis mukha niyo, wait lang. Okay, the presentation and analysis of data is called a data commentary. It has 4 basic parts: the data presentation, location elements and summaries, highlighting statements, and conclusions. So this is specific part is usually in the results and discussion, wherein you're going to present your data in a tabular form or graphical representation of your data. Okay, just like this one. Okay, data presentation. Data are often presented graphically for order and greater clarity. Graphic data presentation can be in the form of figures and tables. So when you present your data, you may use graphs and tables or charts. A table is often used to present voluminous data. On the other hand, a figure is anything other than a table, like charts, graphs, pictures, and maps. A figure is ideal for showing general trends and patterns and for pointing out comparisons among data. Like, for example, in your research, yung sa IMRAD ninyo, you're going to use a table para sa when you present your data and the analysis using statistics. Next one is location and summary expressions. Okay, the next part of a commentary is actually just a sentence that identifies what figure or table the location expression is being discussed and what data this figure or table contains, the summary expression. Each table and figure in a paper have to be discussed separately, so you have to refer to each one by its number or location element so as not to confuse the reader. Okay, I'm going to show you an example. Ganito. Ganyan lang. Ito, halimbawa. Ay, saan to? Ito. So, this one, example, ito yung table nila. So, this is the format and using this APA pa rin yung table na ginamit. So, merong title. For example, Table 1, average mean score of the personality traits of the gamers in Davao City. So it's not enough that you're going to just present a table like this. You need to explain what the information being presented in the tables are. Ano yung mga information nila? So this is how you're going to explain your table like this one. Based on the results in Table 1, the personality traits of the gamers in Davao City are near to C7 and above average rating of 3.858. Openness with an average rating of 3.673, so on and so forth. So you need to explain very direct, very concise, very clear. No need to add fillers or just like yung uh, adjectives or adverbs that may confuse the meaning of the results. So very direct siya dapat na pagkasulat. So every table dapat meron kayong explanation. So for example, this table 1, ito yung explanation niya. So table 2 naman. Table 2, average mean score of the game design preferences of the gamers in Davao City. So explain mo naman dito. Based on the results in table 2, the game design preferences of the gamers in Davao City are, so explain the numbers that you presented here on the table. Ganun siya. Okay, highlighting statements. This part of a database commentary is where you discuss the significant data. Usually, significant data are the highest or predominant and the lowest. Okay, halimbawa, dito sa example, balik tayo dito sa ano. Nag-start siya sa pinaka mataas yung mean rating. Like for example, neuroticism, 3.858. Openness, 3.673. Conscientiousness, 3.656. Agreeableness, 3.546. Extraversion, 3.354. Kasi it's not being randomized yung pagkaka-arrange. Hindi siya random yung arrangement. Sige, una natin your neuroticism. It's because I want to include this first. No, it's not like that. You're going to arrange according sa sino yung pinakamataas. For this case, mean rating siya. May ibang cases, halimbawa dito sa example, Okay, dito halimbawa. Nauna yung intrapersonal kasi yung frequency at saka percentage na siya yung pinakamataas. Last yung verbal linguistic kasi siya yung pinakamababa yung frequency at saka percentage. So, yung arrangement niya is from highest to lowest. So, there's a proper arrangement when it comes to presenting the details in the table. nag-present kayo ng data sa table ninyo, dapat meron siyang proper arrangement. Usually, from highest to lowest. So, ganun din dapat gagawin ninyo sa paper ninyo. Okay, useful expressions when reporting results, like the majority of respondents said. So, kagaya nito. Sa example, this one. Table 1 shows the multiple intelligences of grade 11 students based on the theory of multiple intelligence formulated by Gardner. Among the 9 intelligences, intrapersonal intelligence is the highest with 35.48%, which means that social justice, fairness, and to protest or sign a petition to right or wrong are important to them. So, very direct siya pagka sulat. Intrapersonal intelligence is the highest with 35.48%. So you need to be specific with the information that you're going to present. Makita, kung unsay nasa table, should reflect on the narrative form of your explanation. Ayan. So the next is conclusion. You conclude a commentary by giving explanations or discussing the implications of the data. In academic writing, research-based explanations carry more weight than cursory comments or speculations. In this regard, remember to observe proper documentation of your sources of information. So in this specific part, you need to provide the implications. What's the implication of the results of the study? What does it mean? Sorry. What does it mean? Halimbawa, ito. So table 1 shows the multiple intelligences of grade 11 students based on the theory of multiple intelligence formulated by Gardner 1983. Among the 9 intelligences, intrapersonal intelligence is the highest with 35.48%, which means that the social justice, fairness, and to protest or sign a petition to a right or wrong are important to them. So ito yung ano ninyo, explanation. This is the implication. So how can you say that? So when you conduct a research, you'll be needing your theoretical framework and your related literature. So these aspects in writing research will serve as your safety net, meaning these are things that can help you in order to suffice your explanation. They can be used in order to support your claims sa study ninyo. So since ito yung claim ninyo, kasi kita naman sa result ng interpersonal intelligence yung pinakamataas with 35.48%, which means yung social justice, fairness, and to protest or sign a petition to right or wrong are important to them, you need to provide a support. So in this specific part, ito siya. This claim can be supported by Rubio 2002 that a person who possesses this intelligence have the ability to understand oneself, recognizing emotions, personal strengths and weaknesses, and the ability to solve thinking conflicts that stabilize psychological balance or homeostasis. So this is a claim by a respected author dito sa field or sa topic ng research na ito. So this is very important in order to solidify your claim. Kasi you claim na, based on the result, highest yung intrapersonal. Ibig sabihin, particular sila with the social justice and fairness. So you need to support that with related literature that talks about the intrapersonal intelligence. What's the characteristics of interpersonal intelligent person? So, ganun siya sa pagsulat. So do you have questions, clarification sa discussions natin or sa research ninyo? Naman eh. Do you have questions, guys? Regarding with our lesson or sa PT ninyo? Sige na. By the way, i-post nyo na lang sa either sa Schoology or sa GC natin yung link ng survey instrument ninyo para yung classmates nyo mag-answer na doon sa survey. Anyway, tapos na kayo are you done crafting your research instrument? Yung ginawa, sinend ko sa inyo by group last week pa?
Hindi pa, sir.
Wala pa? Hala. Okay, anyway, sa oral com, last discussion natin kanina, so I will give the time, yung asynchronous meeting natin in oral com, we'll give to you that time para gawin ninyo yung PT ninyo sa APP. And hopefully this week matapos na yung lahat ng lessons natin for APP, then the remaining time we'll give it to you para na sa PT ninyo. And post ko yung anong tawag dito, yung modules, yung remaining 2 modules para sa APP, pero you're not going to answer na. No need to answer na the assessment activities so that you can focus on your performance task sa APP. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
So may tanong pa? Do you have questions, clarifications? We still have 15 minutes left. Okay na daw, sabi ni Junmar. I think that's it. That's a wrap for our discussion. So check nyo lang yung mga examples ha, dun sa folders na pinost ko sa Schoology. And then just check how those paper crafted or how they make their language doon sa explanation nila. Sa introduction, sa methods, results and discussion, tsaka sa conclusion. Check nyo lang. Everything is given na. You just have to conduct the survey na lang and have your data. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for listening, guys. I'm going to end the conference. Bye. See you tomorrow.